There are moments in life when you feel like you've done everything you could. You've tried every door. You've knocked on every opportunity. You've spoken to every person you thought could help. But still, nothing seems to work. Your heart feels heavy with worry, with fear, with unanswered questions. And the world feels painfully silent. You look around and it's as if no one understands you. No one really sees the struggle you're carrying. No one knows the weight you've been holding inside. And you start to wonder, is this it? Is there any way out of this? Will it ever get better? That's when Shaitan tries to whisper in your ear, maybe it's over. Maybe Allah isn't listening. Maybe your story ends here. But let me remind you of something you may have forgotten, something your heart needs to hear right now. It doesn't take a miracle from the sky. It doesn't take the world changing overnight. It doesn't take the whole situation flipping in a second. Sometimes all it takes is one sincere dua, one honest, heartfelt call to your Lord, one moment where you drop everything and raise your hands and say, Ya Allah, I need you. A dua made with a heart that's real, a heart that's tired, a heart that's scared, but a heart that still hopes, still believes, still trusts in Allah. That one dua can move the heavens for you. That one whisper can open a door you never knew existed. That one tear can reach the mercy of Allah and bring a change into your life that you never imagined possible. Because the power of dua is not in the words you say, it's in the heart that says them. And when your heart truly calls on Allah, when you turn to Him with all you have, with nothing but hope and trust and surrender, that one simple dua can change your life overnight. Never underestimate what a single heartfelt dua can do for you. The power of dua in your darkest moments. When life breaks you, when your heart feels crushed under the weight of pain, when every effort you make seems to fail, when you knock on doors with hope and every single one of them stays shut, when the people you thought would never leave turn away, and the ones you trusted are nowhere to be found, that is not the time to give up. That is not the time to think, maybe Allah has left me. Maybe I'm alone now. Maybe my story is over. No, that is the exact moment you need to hold on tighter. Hold on, not to people, not to false hope, but to your dua. Because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, dua is the weapon of the believer. When a soldier walks into a battle, his weapon is everything. Without it, he stands no chance. But with it, even if he's surrounded by enemies, even if the odds are against him, he still has hope. That's what your dua is for you. It's your weapon when life feels like a battlefield. It's your shield when the world feels like it's pushing against you. It's your strength when your heart feels too weak to carry on. It's your lifeline when you feel like you're drowning in worries, in sadness, in pain. People may ignore your messages. They may not answer your calls. They may leave your cries unread. But your Lord never misses your voice, never ignores your cry. Even if all you do is whisper, even if all you have is a broken heart, even if all you can give are silent tears, Allah hears it. Allah knows. And sometimes when you think your dua is not working, when it feels like nothing is changing, when it seems like The pain is still sitting heavy on your chest. Something is already moving. Maybe Allah is fixing something you didn't even know was broken. Maybe He's removing a harm from your path, a harm you never saw coming. Maybe He's preparing the perfect moment, the perfect door, the perfect answer, and all He's waiting for is the right time for you, because your dua is never wasted. Not a single word you say, not a single tear you cry, not a single breath you use to whisper His name goes unnoticed. Because when you make dua, you're not just asking for help, you're showing Allah that your heart is still holding on, that you still believe in Him, that even though the world gave up on you, you never gave up on Him. And that tiny spark of faith, that soft, quiet belief sitting in your heart is so beloved to Allah, more than you will ever know. So don't stop making dua, especially in those moments when life feels like it's breaking you apart. Because sometimes it's when you are completely broken, when you have nothing left, when all your strength is gone, that's exactly when Allah sends you the most beautiful answers, answers you never saw coming, in ways you could never have imagined. And when that moment comes, you look back and realize every tear, every whispered dua, every night you spent crying to Him was never in vain. It was building your story one prayer at a time with the one who never left your side. The dua that reaches Allah instantly. You don't need big words. You don't need long du'as. You don't need eloquent speech. You don't need perfect Arabic. You don't need to memorize special phrases. You don't need poetic lines. You don't need a long checklist of requests. You don't need to be a scholar. You don't need to know every hadith. You don't need to have lived a perfect life. You only need a heart that means every word it says. A heart that turns to Allah without a mask, without a script, without pretending to be someone you're not. A heart that says, Ya Allah, this is me, with my weakness, with my flaws, with my sins, with my fears, with my hopes, and I need you. Sometimes all it takes is one broken sentence that you can barely say, one soft whisper that even you doubt is enough. One simple cry that sounds more like a sigh than a dua. Ya Allah, help me. And in that moment, before you even finish saying it, before the words even leave your tongue fully, your words, your whisper, your tear reach the throne of Allah. Because Allah doesn't wait for you to speak perfectly. He doesn't wait for you to craft a flawless dua. He's not looking for the right grammar or the most beautiful words. He's waiting for your heart to speak sincerely. He loves when you admit that you need Him. He loves when you lower yourself and raise your hands. He loves when you stop pretending to be strong and say, Ya Allah, I can't do this on my own. Even if you've made mistakes, even if you've messed up again and again and again, even if you feel ashamed, even if you feel dirty, even if you feel like you're too far gone, Allah never turns away a sincere heart. People might say, you don't deserve this. People might say, you've sinned too much. People might say, it's too late for you. But Allah never says that. He never says, you're too sinful. He never says, not now. He never says, I'm too busy for you. In fact, the more broken you feel, the more welcomed you are, because Allah loves it when you lower yourself before Him, when you take off the weight of your worries and you hand them over to Him. And the moment you do that, the very moment you whisper, Ya Allah, I need you, He listens, He responds, and He comes closer to you, closer than you could ever imagine. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that when you take one step towards Allah, Allah comes running towards you. Imagine that. The King of Kings, the owner of the heavens and the earth, the one who controls everything, rushes to welcome you simply because you whispered, Ya Allah. Your heart is never too broken for Allah. Your sins are never too many for His mercy. Your pain is never too small for His attention. And your dua is never ignored. Even if it's the same dua you've been making for years, even if you've asked 1,000 times, even if you feel tired of asking, Allah never gets tired of listening. And that one moment, that single, sincere, honest dua could be the moment everything changes. So never think, I'm not worthy, because the truth is, your worth was already written the moment Allah placed the love of calling on Him inside your heart. And that's why whenever you feel lost, whenever you feel weak, whenever you feel like giving up, whenever you feel unworthy, just whisper, Ya Allah, I need you. And know with full certainty that He is closer to you than you could ever be to anyone else, closer to you than your worries, closer to you than your pain, closer to you than the thoughts inside your heart. And in that closeness, you will find a love, a mercy, and a peace that nothing in this world can ever give you. When you think it's impossible, sometimes we stand in front of our problems and it feels like we're standing in front of a wall too high to climb, too thick to break, too strong to move. We try everything. We search for every way out. We knock on every door we can find, but nothing opens. No answer comes. No escape appears. We look left. We look right. We look for any way forward. But all we see is nothing. No door, no path, no hope. And in those moments, our hearts whisper, it's over. We feel trapped, surrounded by darkness, like life itself has caged us in, and nothing makes sense. It feels like the end, but it isn't, because Allah sees what we cannot see. When you think your story has ended, Allah is already writing a new chapter for you. When you think the door has been shut forever, Allah is already opening a door that you didn't even know existed. When you feel like your world is falling apart, Allah is already preparing something better, something beyond your imagination, because Allah is Al-Fattah, the opener, the one who opens ways where no way seems possible. He is the one who opens hearts, who opens opportunities, who opens the doors of mercy, even when everything else seems closed. And your dua, that whispered prayer from your heart, that soft plea you make when no one else sees you, it reaches the one who controls every door, every path, every heart, and every single moment of your life. Your dua goes beyond walls. beyond locked doors, beyond darkness, because it rises straight to the one who has the power to change everything. Remember Yunus alayhi salam, he wasn't just lost, he wasn't just trapped, he was swallowed by a whale in the depths of the ocean, in total darkness. No one could hear him, no one could save him, no one even knew where he was except Allah. And in that moment, when all hope seemed gone, when the world would have said, it's impossible, he called out, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. There is no God but you. Glory be to you. I was among the wrongdoers. He called from a place where no human ear could hear him, but Allah heard him. Allah saved him. Allah brought him back from a situation that seemed impossible. And if Allah could save Yunus from the belly of a whale, in the darkness of the sea, then what problem of yours could ever be too hard for Allah? What situation could ever be beyond His power? Nothing. There is nothing too hard for Him. So when your heart says, it's over, that is exactly the time to say, Ya Allah, nothing is impossible for you. Because when you make dua, you are speaking to the one who makes the impossible possible. And sometimes when it feels like nothing is happening, when it feels like your dua isn't changing anything, that is when Allah is preparing everything behind the scenes in ways you cannot yet understand. Sometimes Allah doesn't change the situation right away because first He wants to change you. He wants you to grow stronger, to come closer to Him, to realize that with Him by your side, there is no such thing as impossible. So don't stop making dua. Not when you feel weak, not when you feel hopeless, not even when you feel it's too late. Because Allah is the one who brings life out of death, who brings light out of darkness, who brings hope out of despair. And your sincere dua might be the key to open a door you've been standing in front of for years. Maybe you don't see it yet. Maybe you don't feel it yet. But your dua is already working in ways your heart cannot see yet. So trust Him, trust His plan, and trust that your dua is never going unanswered. Because with Allah, nothing is impossible. And your sincere dua might be the very reason your story turns around in ways you never imagined. The hidden answer you don't see yet. Sometimes you make a dua asal a dua, and before you've even wiped the tears from your eyes, before you've even stepped away from your prayer mat, Allah opens a door. And in that moment, your heart fills with joy because it feels like Allah said, yes, before you even finished asking. And when that happens, you smile, you feel loved, you feel seen because Allah responded faster than you imagined. But not every dua feels like that. Other times, you ask and you ask again and you wait. Days pass, weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and nothing seems to change. Your heart feels heavy, your whispers start to fade, and the silence starts to feel louder than your voice. It feels like your words disappeared into the air, like they were swallowed by the sky and never reached anywhere. But that silence is never a rejection. That silence is Allah gently saying to your heart, not yet. Because sometimes the time isn't right. Sometimes your heart isn't ready. Sometimes the situation needs to change first, or the people around you, or even you. And Allah, in His perfect wisdom, knows exactly when and exactly how to give you what is best. And then there are those times when you ask Allah for something you've been dreaming about, something you've been longing for, something you've been begging Him for. And instead of giving you that exact thing, Allah gives you something else, something better, something you never even knew you needed. Because Allah is saying, I have something better for you. And in those moments, when you look back, when the pain has passed, when you're on the other side of the storm, you realize that what Allah gave you was far more beautiful than what you thought you wanted. That is Allah's mercy. That is Allah's love for you. Because Allah doesn't just give you what you want, He gives you what you truly need at the perfect time, in the perfect way, with His perfect wisdom. But there's something you must never forget. No matter what happens, no matter how long it takes, no matter how many times you've asked, Allah never says, I don't hear you. That never happens. Your Lord hears every whisper, sees every tear, knows every longing in your heart, even the ones you never say out loud. Your dua doesn't vanish. Your words aren't lost in the sky. Every sincere dua is heard, is recorded, is answered at the perfect time, in the perfect way, with Allah's perfect wisdom. And sometimes the delay in the answer is actually part of the answer. Because in that waiting, your heart grows stronger. Your faith grows deeper. Your connection with Allah becomes closer. Sometimes the waiting itself is Allah's way of giving you more than you even ask for. And sometimes the waiting is Allah's way of protecting you from a harm you didn't even know was coming, or preparing you for a blessing you aren't yet ready to handle. So when it feels like your dua is delayed, it's not rejection, it's protection, it's preparation. And when you feel tired, when you feel drained, when your heart feels worn out from waiting, that is exactly the moment you need to hold on tighter, because maybe your answer is right around the corner. And the moment you give up could have been the moment your relief was about to arrive. So don't stop asking, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Even when it feels like you're making the same dua again and again and again. Even when your eyes are tired of crying and your heart feels empty and the world feels silent, don't stop, because your dua is never lost. Your dua is working in ways you cannot see, in ways you cannot feel yet. And Allah's answer is always on its way at the time He knows is best for you. So trust Him, trust His plan, trust His timing, trust His love for you, and trust every single word you pour out in dua. Because when you trust Allah and you hold on to your dua, you will see that His answer comes in ways you never expected. And when it finally comes, you will look back and you will realize it was worth every tear, every whisper, every sleepless night, every silent prayer, every moment you spent waiting, because Allah always knows what is best for you. Always. Your dua changes you first, before anything around you changes, before the situation gets better, before the storm passes, before the answers arrive, before the pain fades, before the doors finally open, before the weight on your shoulders lifts, something happens first. Something quiet, something hidden, something powerful. Your heart, it changes first. Because every single time you make dua, every single time you raise your hands, every single time you whisper from the depths of your heart, Ya Allah, something inside you begins to shift. A softening, a movement, a silent transformation that no one else sees, but you feel it. The walls you built around your heart, the walls of fear, of disappointment, of pain, they start to fall. The hardness that grew from endless worry, the bitterness that life struggles placed inside you, it begins to melt. And instead, your heart starts to believe again. Your heart starts to trust again. Your heart starts to breathe, even when nothing around you has changed. Because that's the power of dua. It's not just a list of things you want. It's not just words you say when you feel desperate. It's not a wish list you send up into the sky. Dua is a connection, a deep, real, heart-to-heart connection between you and the one who created your heart, the one who shaped your soul, the one who knows every fear you hide, every tear you cry, every silent hope you carry inside. When you make dua, you are standing before the King of Kings, not with demands, not with pride, but with surrender. You're saying, Ya Allah, I need you. Ya Allah, I can't do this on my own. Ya Allah, I'm not strong enough without you. And in that moment, you start to let go. You release your fears, your worries, your anxiety, your pain, and you place it all in His hands. And that moment, that silent moment when you know He's listening, He's watching over you, He's carrying you, that moment begins to heal your heart even before anything on the outside changes, even before you see results, even before the world gives you a sign. Your heart starts to rest. Your soul starts to breathe again, because now you're not walking alone. You're not carrying the weight of the world on your own. You've handed it over to the one who carries it all without limits, without ever growing tired. And sometimes that peace inside you, that calm that wraps around your heart, that quiet confidence you feel after making dua, that is the first answer, the first mercy, the first blessing, the first sign that Allah is already working on your behalf. Dua changes you before it changes your life. It transforms your heart before it transforms your situation. It gives you strength before it removes the problem. It teaches you patience before it brings relief. It makes you hopeful even when the world gives you no reason to hope. And even when nothing around you changes, you change. You become calmer, you become braver, you become softer, and yet stronger. You become closer to your Lord. And that closeness is worth more than any answer you ever asked for. Because when you become close to Allah, even if your problems remain, even if the answer is delayed, your heart doesn't break. Your faith doesn't shake. You find a strength, a quiet, beautiful strength that you never knew you had. And you realize peace doesn't come from getting everything you want. Peace comes from knowing that Allah is taking care of you, that you are never alone. And sometimes that peace itself is the greatest answer to your dua. Because when your heart is connected to Allah, nothing in this world, no trial, no loss, no delay can truly break you. And sometimes it's only when you start making dua that you realize how much your heart needed this connection all along. Not the answered prayers, not the fixed problems, but this unshakable bond between you and the one who created you. And that is the true power of dua. It doesn't just bring you what you ask for. It brings you closer to the one who gives. And when you have that closeness, when you have Allah in your heart, you have everything you'll ever need. So if you feel weak, if you feel drained, if your heart feels like it's carrying a weight you can't bear anymore, if you feel tired beyond words, if you feel like giving up, like there's no strength left in you, like your heart can't take another hit, don't stop your dua. Even when you feel like your strength is gone, even when it feels like your heart is too heavy to lift your hands, even when the words barely come out of your mouth, even when your lips tremble, even when all you can do is whisper, don't stop. Even when it feels like nothing is changing, when every day looks the same, when the doors still seem shut, when your prayers feel like they're hanging in the air, keep going. Because the moment you stop making dua is the moment you shut the door to the mercy that's been waiting for you, to the help that was meant for you, to the love that never left you. You don't know, and you may never know, that maybe the next tear you shed, the next soft whisper you make in sujood, the next silent plea you send straight from your heart, could be the very moment Allah chooses to change your life overnight. Because sometimes it's that one final sincere dua on the night you almost gave up, on the morning your heart felt numb, on the day when you thought, it's over for me, that becomes the moment Allah says, I've heard you and now I will open the door. Because Allah does not forget the one who remembers Him. He does not ignore the one who calls upon Him. He does not abandon the heart that turns back to Him again and again and again. Even when you feel like you're repeating yourself, even when you feel like your words are too simple, even when you feel like you've asked for too long, even when you feel like your voice is too small, Allah still listens. Allah still watches over you. Allah still holds your heart in His care. So raise your hands. Even if your hands are shaking, speak to Allah. Even if your voice is trembling, tell Him everything, the things you're too scared to say out loud, the things you can't even explain to yourself. Tell Him your fears, your hopes, your regrets, your mistakes, your pain, your dreams. And then trust. Trust that He is listening. Trust that He knows. Trust that He cares. Because He always has, and He always will. Even when you can't see it, even when you don't feel it, even when everything around you says it's hopeless, Allah is never far from the one who calls upon Him. So don't stop. Don't stop when you're tired. Don't stop when it hurts. Don't stop when your heart whispers, I can't anymore. Because sometimes your biggest breakthrough, the opening you've been waiting for, The change you've been longing for comes right after your hardest moment. And sometimes the answer you've been waiting for is one sincere dua away, one tear away, one whispered Ya Allah away. And you might be closer to your opening than you've ever been before. So hold on, keep going, hold on a little longer, because your dua is never wasted, and Allah is closer to you than your own heart. He is waiting for you to speak to Him, to call on Him, to trust Him. And when you do, when you pour out your heart, you will see that no heart that truly calls on Allah ever returns empty. So keep making dua, keep walking with hope, keep trusting with all your heart, and believe with every fiber of your being that with Allah, your story is never over.